Hey, welcome to TFL Live, our Sunday Ask for Help session where you get to ask your questions and I'll do my best to answer them for you related to 3D printing. I want to say hello to everybody that is in the chat today. We've got 23 people watching. We've only got 10 likes. Hit that like button, you guys. It helps us a ton on YouTube to get our videos out to other people that may not know about us yet. So let's say hi to a bunch of people. We got Dominic Versetto in the house. We've got Accord XTC in the house. I'm just going to scroll through here. Mark Baker, Gary T, Tom Taylor from Northeast Ohio. Who else we got? We got SPC 3D. DeWitt 3D Canada, Mark Baker, Peter Reynolds, Ricky B, Gary Putnam, Andrew Osmond, 3D Print Newbie Milan. We've got the Scarecrow and Joseph Jolly. Some of our great regulars are back. Excellent. Love to see that. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Well, I want to talk about hot ends today specifically. So if you've got questions regarding your hot end, why are you getting a whole bunch of clogging or why you do this, why are things happening that shouldn't be happening, we're going to talk about them today. So I'm actually handling your questions today, so I'll be putting them up on screen when I see them, and we will be going about. My wife has been not feeling well. Her sciatica has been really bugging her, so Jerry is not with us down in the studio today. She's upstairs taking care of her hip and her sciatica, and she'll be back with us. Don't worry, she'll be passing your questions on to us. Gold nozzles, we're going to talk a little bit about those as well. But first and foremost, what is the hot end? People interchange the hot end with the extruder a lot. It goes back and forth a ton of times. So what I want to point out, first and foremost, this is a hot end. The reason this is a hot end, because this gets very hot. This is your block. This is where your heater cartridge and your thermistor go in to tell you the temperature and to heat up the material that is inside the hot end. Now, this, although it's been said this is an all-metal hot end, and I know I'm going to get some feedback on this, and that's okay. I don't mind, because this is not an all-metal hot end. Yes, it is metal throughout. All the parts in it are metal. But once you introduce a Bowden tube to this, it no longer is a all-metal hot end, because the filament path is being protected by that Bowden tube coming right down into the block. And I'm going to show you that on one that we've got exposed here. This is a cutaway that I found. DeWitt, Tim over at DeWitt 3D Canada, sent me over the file that he made of the really big one. And I'm going to do that one in another video. But what I want to explain here is I want to talk about the parts that we have here. First, down at the bottom, we have our nozzle. Then we have our block. Then we have our throat, which is this piece right here that goes from, or this is also called a heat break in many places. This portion right here is where the filament travels down into the nozzle. So on a Creality style hot end like this one, this needs a Bowden tube to ride right down into the heated zone, and it mates up with the top of the nozzle. Okay. Thank you everybody for sending your wishes to Jerry. We do appreciate that. Now, the Bowden tube, which slides in and is held in by a collar and a clip, or a compression fitting, just like you see on the top of this one. I don't have it modeled on this particular one right now, but this tube needs to go all the way down and meet this hot end, or meet this nozzle, pardon me. What happens when we start to get into higher temp materials, PETG, ABS, nylons, things like that, This type of hot end is no longer a good option for that, because what happens is this PTFE liner, or this PTFE tube, which is made from Teflon primarily, starts to break down in the heated zone. You can see here, based that this is all in that heated zone. So when the heat is traveling up into the heat sink, which is the red portion here, which is cooled by a fan, the heat creep can actually come up through this and cause clogging, because if your retraction is too far. Now remember that when you have retraction just doesn't go in here. It's all melted from the top of that block right down to here, okay? So what happens is when that gets pulled up, all that melted material gets pulled up into a cooler zone. So then it can cool and it can cause a blockage. That's what we call a blockage, okay? Where we get into other issues is when this Bowden tube is not locked down and it can move, okay? So when it moves, it creates a space in here that molten plastic will sit in. And it doesn't always fall back down into the shoulder and doesn't get compressed down like it should when it comes through this Bowden tube. So we end up with a clog or a blockage again, okay? So that is the problem with these types of hot ends. Now, these types of hot ends are in 90% of all 3D printers on the market today. Creality, any other brands, you know, Lotmaxx, Mingda, all those types of printers all have a print head just like this, okay? Where we start to get into much better print heads is when we start looking at things like the Micro Swiss replacement for this, which, in fact, I wish I had one printed off, but I don't. The Bowden tube stops very, very close to the top of this throat. And this is all milled down the center channel. This is all milled down to be the same diameter as the filament going in. So when it goes in, it has less chance of getting blockage, and you have less chance of melting or degrading this or PTFE lining tube, and then having all that junk and crap fall down into your nozzle, which causes blockages as well. Let's have a quick look here. Here's one from 3D Printing. Let's send that over. There we go. DeWitt 3D Canada, he says, both versions, including all metal, will be available on Cults very soon. Yes, the model that Tim produced, beautiful model, has magnets so you can take it apart. It's great for educational purposes. We're going to be using it on upcoming videos very soon, and I want to thank Tim for that. Let's go to 3D Printing Milan's question here. And he says, hey there, hope all is well. Can you send me that file STL for the hot end? This STL right here is available on Thingiverse. You can go and find it. And I just printed it off in a couple of different colors. So what I want to point out is that if you get into a higher quality print head like this one, which is from E3D, this is their V6 model, which has been around for years and has been a tried and tested and true hot end for a lot of 3D printers as an upgrade for a long time. Prusa has been using this pretty much from day one. A great little hot end. I love these hot ends. I think they work very well. Again, they don't allow the Bowden tube to go down into that heated zone. It keeps that Bowden tube up. And I believe I've got a throat for it right here. Here is the throat. It's not very big, but in this throat we can see that we have the threaded area that goes into our block. We have the threaded area that goes into our heat sink. We have that necessary little space for heat to travel through. And then at the top, you can't see it very well because of the lighting, but this Bowden tube, and I'll use this little short section right here, only goes down so far. It does not travel all the way through. Some hot ends, like the Creality, will allow that Bowden tube to travel all the way through. Some throats, like this one, this is a standard 30 millimeter throat for Mark 8 style hot end setup. This one has a Teflon tube already built into it. So again, this is getting all heat. This heat break is getting heat right through. So this will break down over time. Depending on where you get these, they can break down and they can look or they can cause issues with your hot end over time. And again, I'm going to cover this in a much wider video, but I wanted to talk about why this happens, why we get clogs and why we can't print a lot of higher temp materials on our 3D printers, when clearly in the documentation it says that you can print X, Y, Z, and unfortunately, marketing wise, that is very true. The printers itself is capable of printing other filaments. However, the setup of the hot end is really the most important part that you want to consider if you want to print higher temperature filaments. PETG is a good example. TPU is not so bad. You can do that in here, but again, you can get that clogged up pretty easy. We've got Kevin Gorman, I believe is his name. Kevin Gorman, hello from the criminal state of New Jersey. I love New Jersey. I don't think it's a criminal state, but maybe it is. Shooter59, good afternoon from Fort Worth, Texas. HVAC A to Z, hello to you as well. Ben Brady, I forgot to say hello to. David Sell. We got a lot of people in the house today, and I appreciate that very much. Keep hitting that like button. Help us get some more viewers on this channel. We are going up slowly but surely every day. So, do I recommend that you change this out? Yes and no. And I'll tell you why. If you're just printing PLA, if you're just a PLA printer because you're making statues or you're making tchotchkes or you're making, little beavers like this one or little dogs like this one, which come from MakerBot, you don't really need to upgrade this hot end too much at all. In fact, you may want to at times change the Bowden tube, clean out the hot end, that sort of thing. Do you have to spend a ton of money? No. Dennis Kelly, he's got a great question here. I'm just going to send it to the screen. It says, I'm considering a sliced copper head hot end, or maybe only replacing the Creality heat break with the copper head heat break. Any recommendations? Yeah, Dennis, what I would say to do is instead of spending all that money on a slice, because this week I've been looking at slice hot ends as well, and I've looked at their new heat break, their copper heat break with the metal tube up the center. That's a much better alternative for these types of hot ends than I think going out and buying a complete new hot end for $80 or $90 or $100+ depending on where you're buying it from. I think that if you change out the throat or the heat break in this case, if you change out the heat break to something that only allows the Bowden tube to stop near the top and you have a clear filament path. Copper's a great conductor of heat. It does well. The ones with the stainless steel sleeve in them, they do well as giving you good performance. So I would just change the heat break. I wouldn't change anything else. One thing that you have to be careful of on Creality hot ends, this style right here, you'll see there's a couple of little screws. And for the longest time, this was, I'll give you a little closer look there maybe. There we go. This was a problem, or people thought it was a problem, that these screws were causing heat creep up into the heat sink. Well, to a certain extent they may, but they're only going to go as far as this thick portion on the bottom. And to get a better look at that is this thick portion on the bottom. It's not going to travel through. Do you get heat here? Of course you're going to. Even from a regular hotend, it's still going to migrate up into the heatsink. But that's what the heatsink's for. The heatsink is designed to take that heat and dissipate it so that this area stays cool, this area stays hot. And this space is that air gap between the two. If you don't have that air gap, you're just transferring heat from the block up into the heatsink, which can cause even more problems later on. Here we go. Dominic Versetto says that the Copperhead heat break cost him $30. As we get into heat breaks that are more expensive or that are made from different materials with a new technology, they are going to be more expensive. This heat break right here you can get for about $4 or $5. But if you're going into, you know, something a little higher end, like the heat breaks that you find in an E3D V6, they're a little bit more expensive. I mean, those can go up to about $10. When you get into the multi-material heat breaks, such as the copper and stainless steel, you are going to be paying for those two materials and the manufacturing that goes into it. Even though it's a small part and you can't believe that you paid $30 for something that big, you are getting the benefit of the manufacturing and the materials that are in it. Shooter 59, let's go to his question or his comment there. He says, I just got an Anycubic Viper in January and an Ender 3 Pro in February. Lots to learn. Shooter 59, there is lots to learn. And if you stay with us here on the first layer, you're going to learn a lot. We have 400 videos that you can go back and look at if you're having any issues. And 90% of our videos relate to 90% of the printers that are out there. So some are printer specific, but most of the techniques that I show you on this show are for people just like you. And there's a lot of great information there, from how to get good first layers to how to keep your hot end nice and clean. So PTFE tubes can be the bane of everybody's existence on a inexpensive hot end like this. Or like this in this case. I want you to, if you've got a hot end that is similar to this, I want you to really pull this Bowden tube out, have a look at it. You'll see on this one here, you can see how much crap is stuck in there, and that's because the plastic comes back up and it can get stuck over time to the inside, and you can see it there. So check your Bowden tube. You can snip them off, you know, a little bit at a time, just to get rid of any blockages. Put them all the way back down, get them nice and seated down in there, and make sure that they don't go any further than that. And then there's a little clip that you can put on the top of that compression fitting that will hold that in place so that it doesn't move up and down. If you're going to have that issue of it moving up and down, you can really cause problems and get a buildup in here, and then get under extrusion to clogging to a number of other different issues. We're going to be talking about retraction in upcoming videos. We got lots to talk about, and we're going to just keep moving forward. Dominic Versetto, he says that the learning is most of the fun. And yes, it is most of the fun. I agree with that 100%. The more that you learn, the easier it is to diagnose problems. I spent the day with my good friend Peter Reynolds yesterday, who is in our chat room. And Peter, he's got 4 FDM printers and 1 resin printer. And yesterday we spent some time, got them all leveled, got the offsets set correctly, and then we went over to his Voron and we finished up some things on that. I'm not sure how the last print turned out. This week, all I want him to do with that printer, because it's so new and it was built from the ground up, is I just want him to print. And that's what everybody should be doing. If you're new to 3D printing, even if you're a veteran like myself, even though I'm still learning, I don't really consider myself a veteran, but I've been doing it for 5 years, so some people consider me a veteran. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But at the end of the day, just print stuff. It doesn't matter if you're printing cubes or you're printing, little tchotchkes, or you're printing something useful. Just print something. If you have a problem and you don't know how to solve that problem, my recommendation to you is take pictures, put it up on our Facebook group. If I can't answer it or I don't get time to answer it, somebody over on our Facebook group can answer your question. Great people to answer questions are people like Ben Brady, who's in our chat today as well. You know, we've got DeWitt 3D, Tim, he's a great guy, Dominic Versetto. There's a lot of people that are over on our Facebook that can absolutely help you if I don't get to you. And I mean, there's almost 3,000 people over there, so somebody's going to be able to answer your question. All right, let's go and see what else we got here. Shooter59 says, PETG has been my biggest challenge besides bed leveling. Love the videos. Thank you very much. PETG can be an issue because a lot of people think you need more squish with PETG, and it's actually the opposite. You need less squish. You want more round. You don't want to force it into the surface, your build surface. Now, depending on which build surface you have is also going to depend on the amount of squish that you have for that material to get it to hold down to the bed. The other issue with PETG, or PETG as it's commonly referred to, is the fact that it is very hygroscopic. So it grabs moisture from the air and holds onto it, and that can become embedded in the filament, which can swell the filament, which can cause clogging issues that we talked about. So you taking a look back at our hot eggs, so it can cause clogging issues in this area. Now, what you want to do before you use PETG is make sure that it's dry. If you don't have a commercial dryer to dry your filament, yes, you can do it in the oven. Yes, you can do it in the little toaster ovens that a lot of people seem to have. I don't recommend ovens or toaster ovens anymore. I used to at the beginning. I recommend that if you've got one of those food dehydrators, you use that. Or if not, invest into something commercial, either the Sunlu, the eSun. There's a variety of different ones out there. They're just a filament dryer, and that's what they're designed to do, is dry out that filament. I also use the one from Ebos. I love that one. It has it can hold 2 rolls of filament, 1 kilogram rolls of filament, or 2 kilogram roll of filament, because they're a little wider. So those are great ones to use. They dry your filament very well. It takes 4 to 5 hours to dry a roll of filament. They have all the settings in their little booklets, so you can definitely look that up. And if you can't find it, you can always go look online and look at their website and download the digital version of the user manual. But I do recommend that with PETG that you dry it first before you start using it, and that will make things a little bit easier in your printing. When you see a lot of stringing, it's not necessarily a retraction issue with PETG. It tends to sometimes be a moisture issue. Also, the other thing is that when you have too much moisture in your filament, you're going to physically be able to hear a sizzling or a popping as the filament is extruding onto your 3D print. Let's just have a look more at some of these. I have, oh, here we go, one from Ricky B. Let's see what Ricky has to say. He says, I have all the parts for a Vorvon 2.4 ordered, expect to start building by tax day. Excellent. I look forward to seeing that. Definitely. Then we've got, Peter says, he says, got a bit of a clog on the Voron, working on it as we speak. Okay. What I want to know is how that print came out that I started before I left your place. And finally from Shooter, who says, has LOL, yeah, got the PEG bonded to my bed, got out the jackhammer to release it. What surface are you using? If you're using a glass surface, make sure that you put something between that glass and the PETG, such as, although I don't recommend hairspray, you can use it. Aquanet seems to be a big one. You can use commercial bed adhesion products that are out there. Magic Goo is one of them. Glass, if you're using glass, you want to make sure that you use something like glue stick or hairspray or one of the commercial ones. I use glue stick right here. I use glue stick all the time, and this just works great because when it builds up on the bed, I can just turn around, take it to the bathroom sink, wash it off, and away I go. Here we go. Snapshot FPV. He says, I put it in a Filament to read humidity. Okay, I understand what you're getting at. When you're storing your filaments, a great idea is to keep those little desiccant packs that come with your filament. A lot of people throw them out. Because when you're not using your filament, you can bag it up into a Ziploc bag. Any Ziploc bag will do, a freezer bag that fits that roll. Throw that desiccant back in there. It's going to help to keep it dry. Now, if you need to dry out your filament, as I said earlier, for the price of them, I would invest into one of the commercial filament dryer systems, or get yourself a dehydrator, because they work just as well. They're basically the same thing. I like the dehydrator because of the convection heat. It's always moving that heat around, so your filament is getting heated and warmed to the degree that it's just getting rid of that gassing of the moisture, but it's doing it in 360. Some of the commercial ones out there don't have a fan in them, like the Sunloo. It doesn't have a fan in there unless they've changed the design. And it just has a heating plate down at the bottom that just basically heat rises. And it doesn't move the air. You really have to move that air around to get a good dry on your filament. All right. Shooter 59, he says, I got Magic Goo. Yeah, Magic Goo is a good product. I've used it myself. I think it works well. But for the price, glue stick's easier for me. Snapshot FPV says, dang, this always happens to me. LOL. He can't type today for whatever reason. Maybe he's been drinking today. I don't know. Maybe he had a beer before he came to the show. Hey, let's take a second here to thank some of our sponsors on the show right now. Matter 3D. Matter 3D has their own brand of filament in-house, and they make it right here in Canada. You're going to see a lot of their products on the show in the future, and we're also going to be looking at another company here very soon. And we're going to look at some, I've got some stuff that just came in this week for some silks. I'm going to have a great time looking at those from another company. And I'm going to show you guys those as well. And also, we want to thank our other sponsor, Mars Hydro. We have a grow tent. Mars Hydro has everything that you need for your indoor horticultural needs. Whether you're growing tomatoes or vegetables for your home or medicine for yourself, Mars Hydro has a complete line of products for you. Check them out today at marshydro.com. Very good prices, and I really think that they're a great company. So, Shooter 59, he says, Elmer's glue stick? Yes, Elmer's glue stick, the same kind that your kids use. Where did I just had the damn stuff. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. You know, I wear these, but I can't see things 2 feet in front of me. Yeah, this is just the purple glue stick. There we go. Hopefully that'll focus. Yeah, just Elmer's purple glue stick for the kids. I buy these every year at back to school time. I think that these you can get a 3-pack for a couple bucks. They're 20 ounce or 20 gram sticks. They work well. They last a long time. You can let glue stick build up a little bit on your build plate if you like. Some people don't like to. They like to clean it every time. If you are going to clean it, take it to the sink, wash it off with some just some warm water and a paper towel. Then bring it back and just clean that glass with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and then reapply your glue stick. Now, applying glue stick, I would apply it when the bed is warm. So bring your bed up to temperature, whether you're printing at 60, 70, 80, doesn't matter. But bring it up to temperature and then apply your glue stick. What that does is it helps to melt the glue stick as it's going down and kind of self-levels it across the glass. Alteracious, let's have a look and see what he has to say. He says, I've been looking at a cast aluminum bed for my Ender 3 Pro, but cannot seem to find anything in Canada in stock for a reasonable price. Suggestions. How thick do you want a cast aluminum bed? First and foremost. And secondly, where I got mine for my Voron was from a company, Formatec out of Germany. I will try and put it in the description a little bit later on. But it wasn't cheap. It was a $70 piece of aluminum that was shipped right to my door. And it came perfectly flat. It came milled, and it was great. But if you're going for a thicker bed, remember that you can burn out those motors faster. You may have to up the current if you've got a bed slinger. If you're going with a 3 mil piece of aluminum, the problem there becomes that it is really thin. So when you heat that up, you're still going to have those peaks and valleys that you have with every other 3 mil heated build plate out there on the market today. So just be aware of that. I like Vision Miner. Seems to work better than glue stick. $50 cheap. Dominic Versetto says. Vision Miner, it's a channel that I've recently discovered. They do more industrial stuff. They're not geared towards us, the hobbyists. They're doing more industrial prints, much bigger printers. You'll see that there's a lot of high-end printers that are, 2,500, 3,000 and up on their channel, and they're doing more, like I said, more industrial applications, using higher temp materials or temperature resistant materials. I apologize for that light blinking back and forth. I have to reroute some wiring back there, but it's distracting me. Squirrel! Or in my case, beaver! Don't take that literally. So yeah, go ahead and, just take a look at what's out there. Again, the Vision Miner is a good place to go for some information. But if you really want to stay in that realm of the hobbyist, there's lots of guys out there. I can recommend Maker's Muse. I can recommend DeWitt 3D, who is also a good friend of mine. And, he's also got stuff. Because what I like about Tim's videos is that Tim is coming from the same aspect and same viewpoint that I did when I got started in 3D printing. He's learning right along with you guys. Whereas I spent a lot of time doing a lot of research before I started the channel. So I was a little bit further along. All right, so Alteracious has been looking at a 5mm plus, like the one on Spool 3D's website. I have no problems with $70 if it's all the holes drilled, etc. I have a BLV linear rail kit on my printer. If all the holes are there, great. Make sure that when you do buy it, that it is cast aluminum and it has been machined so that it is truly flat. Okay, something to check. Now, how do you check that? Well, you can take a ruler or a flat edge, and I don't happen to have a ruler here at the moment, but you can take a flat edge like this and put it down on that bed and see if it rocks in any way, and see if you can see light through it when it's cold. If you see light through it when it's cold, you're going to have a problem when it heats up, because that's going to just exaggerate. Gary Graham who I haven't seen around here in a while. Hello, Gary. He says, I have 3mm glass mirror on all my printers and have no problems. If I do, I use the UHU glue stick, which never fails. Mirrors. Let's talk about mirrors for a minute. Mirrors are a great bed replacement for glass or for those stupid mats that you get with Creality printers. You know the ones I'm talking about. They have a magnet on one side and they have a textured surface on the other. I hate those things. I think that they are a waste of time, money. They're made to be a consumable. So, of course, if you damage them, and you can damage them pretty easily, if you damage them, you just take it off and you go and buy another one for $25 or $30, whatever it may be at the time. And I do like mirrors because one of the things about mirrors is that coating that's on the back to give a mirror its reflectivity also helps to heat that glass more evenly. So it's going to help to spread that heat across the entire surface. Whereas with a regular bed and just a piece of glass on it, if you were to take one of these, which is a heat gun, or a temperature gun, you can actually point it at the bed and look at it in different locations, and you will notice that on just a straight glass on build plate that it's not even all the way around. In the center, it's going to be the hottest. As it works its way out to the edges, it's going to get cooler and cooler and cooler. But with a mirror, because of that metallized coating on the back, it helps actually to take that heat that's radiating and actually push it to the edges, so you get a much better bond through all of your print, depending on the size of the print that you're doing. Andrew Osmond says he loves glue stick, but now with a PEI service, I have not yet used glue sticks. PEI you don't have to use a glue stick with. Just make sure that if you're going to print PETG on that PEI, if it's smooth, you are going to want to put an interference layer between it. So glue stick you can put on and then just wipe it off after you're done. Okay, let's go to Gary Graham here. He says, I cut up an old 4-foot mirror to make all my print surfaces with some spares. Excellent. That's a great way to go. Now, the other thing about mirrors is that glass, even though it's not borosilicate glass, which is typically what we want to use on our 3D printers, it's not as flat, or it is actually flatter than borosilicate glass. Pardon me, I'm getting that backwards. It's flatter than borosilicate glass, and the reason for that is because it has to be. If it's not, we get that funhouse mirror look. So, maybe our cheeks are way out here, or our head is really long, and that's because the glass itself is not flat, and that's why that happens. Shooter 59 is asking, PETG does a good job on damaging those beds. Ask me how I know, LOL. Yeah, it does do a good job on damaging beds, because on glass, here's what happens with PETG. When it bonds to glass, it actually digs into the glass a little bit. It doesn't look like it because it's so microscopic, but it gets such a hold on the glass in some cases, especially if you're too close to the bed. It really pushes it in. Now, glass itself, if you looked at glass underneath a microscope, you would see that there are very micro little indents and divots to it. It's not as smooth and flat as we believe it to be. So if you're pushing that material in there, what's happening is when it cools, because the nature of PETG shrinks a little bit, it's still stuck in that spot. So what does it do? The glass gives way before the plastic does, so you'll pull out little chunks of your bed. Ask me how I know. I've done that a few times. So it's one of those things that, if you are going to be changing the build surface on your printer, my biggest recommendation is get rid of those magnetic build plates, the ones that have a magnet that sticks to a magnet, because a couple of things happen is those magnets never line up square. So if for some reason you haven't lined it up perfectly and you put it down there, well, it can catch on the frame of your 3D printer, and that can cause problems with your 3D print, as we all know. So what I recommend is, if you are going to, when you get to the point where that bed just doesn't look good anymore, or you've crashed into it too many times, or you've scarred it or whatever, and you want to replace it, just take the magnet off the actual build plate as well. And how you do that is warm it up a little bit, and it should peel off pretty nicely. You can get a spatula or scraper under there, and you can peel it up really nicely. Now, the other thing that I would recommend is then just replace that with a piece of glass. Make sure that you get a piece of glass that is the size of your build plate, and put that down with some binder clips, just like this. You know, you guys have seen these. Everybody's got some in their home. If not, steal them from your office. I don't condone stealing, but go ahead, and they're cheap enough to buy. And just those will hold down your glass to your bed. The other thing is that if your bed has any kind of wobbles or wibbles or peaks and valleys in it, the glass is not going to follow those. Whereas with a magnetic build surface, it follows everything that is on the undersurface. Glass is going to stay relatively level over the time that it has on the printer. So something to keep in mind. These are actually not very expensive. I think you can find these on Amazon for about $25 or more, sometimes less depending on where you get them. So these are things that I would look into. This is a great tool to have in your kit anyway. And all you basically do is point it at, and then you read the temperature on the back. Another thing that I'd recommend that everybody have in their kit is a good set of drivers that have multi-tips. I like this one from iFixit. I use it a lot. It's one of those things I use a lot of. Another thing is a good set of calipers. These aren't very expensive calipers. I think I got these ones off of Amazon. They're not very expensive, but they do what I need them to do. They tell me exactly how thick my filament is. And that's the other thing. When you get filament, the reason that these dial calipers are such a good investment is because you can test the thickness of that filament in different areas. As it unrolls, just take your calipers, put them on that filament, and see exactly what the tolerance is, because every roll of filament is going to come with a tolerance that says plus or minus 0.02, 0.05, 0.07, whatever it may be. So go ahead and check your filament, and if you notice that it's over that tolerance, two things are probably happening. It's a bad batch, or if it's in the case of something like PETG or nylon, it's absorbed moisture from the air and has swollen. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Let's get back to a couple more here. What's Snapshot got to say to me? He says, okay, try again, Richard. I use food dehydrator, but there's no way to measure humidity. What can I put in with filament to read humidity? There are humidity detectors that you can buy. You can buy a pack of 10 of them off of Amazon. They're just a little round circular deal that you can throw in there with it. They just take a little cell battery. Or you can get desiccant cards or humidity cards and put them in with your filament as well. And that will give you a rough idea of how much moisture is in there. I like the little digital ones that you can get off of Amazon. They're, like I said, they're I think 10 of them for 10 or 15 bucks. They're not very expensive. But yeah, I would definitely invest in one of those. When you're drying in a food dehydrator, it's a little different than putting it into one of these commercial filament dryers, because you really don't know what to set it at. My recommendation is, if you're setting for PLA, set it to about 50 degrees and just let it sit in there for about 4 or 5 hours. PETG, you may want to go up to about 60 degrees and again leave it in there for 3 or 4 hours. But as far as the humidity goes, when you're putting them back into bags or you have a storage box, get yourself some of those hydrometers, digital hydrometers. Again, they're not very expensive, and it's something I would definitely recommend. Okay, Ben. Here we go. Wait. I'm going to come back to Ben in just a second here. Matt is asking, have you ever put a magnet on a glass plate? Yes, I have. Does it work? Nah, not really. Because once you get over, remember that glass is heavy, right? So once you get over that threshold of where the magnets bond to each other, and some will lose their magnetic adhesion at lower temperatures, and I've seen them as low as 65, 70 degrees, some 80 degrees, some 100 degrees. It just depends on the magnet that you have. The best magnets, I think, are if you're going to buy that sheet magnet stuff, is the same type that they make car magnetic signs out of, because that particular magnet has a much higher resistance to heat, because they're made to be in the heat on the side of your car, right? So they will stick much better. So I hope that answered your question. Let's get into Ben. The Creality refrigerator magnet build plate is terrible. I agree 100% on that. But do not put a glass bed on top of a magnetic sticker on the bed. It will bond to glass, and you'll have a very hard time getting it off. Now, Ben, I've never had that issue, so I'm wondering why that's happening to you, and I've done it tons of times. I won't say millions of times because I haven't had millions of printers, but yes, you can remove it. I always remove mine anyway, but in a pinch, if you just want to take off the flexible build plate, put glass right over top of it, you can certainly do that. There's no reason why you can't. If you need to get it off afterwards, if it's sticking, all I've ever done, and I pry them up anyway a little bit, is I will just take my spatula for taking my prints off, and I'll just kind of wiggle it in there just to get a little air between the glass and the magnet, and it comes right off. So I never really have much of a problem there. So Peter Webster, he says, "Hi Richard, not sure if you answered my question earlier in the chat. I got called away." Peter Webster, I might have missed it actually. I probably did miss it. I'm sorry. Can you ask your question again, Peter? I did miss it. I did miss it. I do apologize. Yeah, cigar humidor hydrometer. Yeah, those are what you can use. The little digital cheapy ones that you can get off of Amazon, you can buy them in a 10-pack. They either come rectangular or they come round. I have the round ones, so those are what I use. Yeah, Peter Webster, please re-ask your question, because I think I missed it. And it would take me forever to scroll back and find it. So, we're going to be doing some changes around here. I just want to let you guys know that we've got a lot of things that we're doing. We're not moving. We're staying right where we are. We're staying in this house that we're in now. But the look of things are going to be changing. We're taking the whole basement of this place, which we kind of use as a little bit of storage, a little bit of a work area, a studio, office, bedroom, that sort of thing. All of our living space is going to be moving upstairs, and all of our 3D printing space is going to be moving down here. So this room that we're in now is going to be just our hobby room. So all the 3D printers will be in here, our laser engraver will be in here, our t-shirt maker and stuff like that will all be in here as well. We'll do all of our projects in here. We'll do photography in here and that kind of stuff. Because this room is fairly big. It's about 18 feet across by 22 feet long. So it's a fairly big room. It's like a big rec room. And then the bedroom that's down here, we're going to turn that into the studio as we move forward. And I've talked to my good friend Peter Reynolds, who is going to come over and help me set up some lighting and really kind of get the set up properly so that we can do reviews, we can do proper builds and things like that. And then this room will also be able to come in here and do some filming from time to time. Ben Brady says the ferocious powder they make the mag sticker with is sprayed onto a plastic film. The glass actually bonds to the film at the molecular level. I've never seen that, but that's good to know, Ben. And I will keep an eye on that for later builds and reviews. So, yeah, thank you for that information. I got so many things going here. I got my tablet for the chat. I've got our live streaming software here. I'm looking at myself there. I'm looking at you there. Yeah, it's very weird today. So yeah, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. So if you still got some questions, let's see if we can't get a few more questions in today. We're going to be changing things around. Like I said, I want you guys to be aware of that. So if we're off for a couple of weeks, it's just because we're doing a little bit of a transition. But I will make sure that you guys are aware of that ahead of time, so you know not to come going, where is Sunday? Where is new episodes? Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be creating content for other people as well, so making and editing and testing is going to be my full-time job now. So it is, I'm happy to have employment again. It does help to keep the lights on and keep me doing this with you guys. Your continued memberships also help. So if you're not a member yet and you think about wanting to become a member, I know there's some things I still have to sort out, like the Discord and a couple of other things, and get back to doing our members only live streams. As a lot of you know, there's been chaos here, and I kind of want to end the show on a high note. So I want you guys to know that things are better. They are on the right path again. A lot of people are glad I'm not leaving Calgary. I'm going to stay here, and I will be working remotely for the employer that I am working for right here in Calgary. So they are out in another province, and I'm going to stay right here. So I don't have to move anywhere, which is great, because I would miss all of my customers locally that I have, that I go and service on a regular basis. So let's see what is going on here. Will you ever do a review on the E3S1? Yes, I will, Andrew. As soon as I get one, I will do a review on that. Dominic, are you going to do a gold nozzle review? Yes, I'm trying to get one in right now. I want to see how it works. I want to put it in the right hot end so that it gives me the best chance of success. And if there's failures, of course, I'm going to show you guys what I did wrong. And you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff now moving forward. If I make a mistake, I want you guys to know what mistake I made so that you don't go and make it for yourself. Tony Stark. I like that. Tony Stark. Hi, Richard. Hope all is well. Quick question. New version of Marlin bug fix with BL Touch enabled. When it goes to probe, it hovers around 20 millimeters above the bed, then fails. Any ideas? That'll have to do with your offset. Make sure that your offset is not 20 millimeters. Just check inside the Marlin software. Make sure the offset is set to 0, and it should come down to the 0 point that it thinks is the 0 point. If not, you're going to have to put an offset in there to drop that down so that that probe hits every time. And remember, there is, if you go over to our Facebook group page, there's a file on there that is a BL Touch tool that I made that allows you to set the proper distance between the nozzle and the BL Touch when the probe is stored. And it should be about 2.55 millimeters. Download that tool, print it out for yourself, and then just go and check. And if you have to, you'll have to maybe put spacers or adjust where the BL Touch is located. You may have to adjust it up or down, like we did with Peter just yesterday. We had to take one of his BL Touches because of the nozzle that was in there. Remember, not all nozzles are shaped the same. When we look at a nozzle, an E3D nozzle looks very different from this. It's much shorter. So if we put on a nozzle that has the same thread into an E3D V6 head, we are going to notice that it's longer, and that can cause problems with your BL Touch as well. So what we did to alleviate that is we put some spacers in there, and we got it to where it needed to be, and everything was printing beautifully when I left yesterday. So Peter, or Printer Prawn, he says, wasn't the gold nozzle a April Fool's joke? I do not believe it was, because it was announced before April Fool's, and it's a gold-plated nozzle, just so you know. It's not a solid gold nozzle. It's just a... Dominic says it was. I have a funny feeling that it wasn't, because I believe it was announced in March before April Fool's. But if I'm wrong, somebody is going to correct me. If I'm wrong, somebody's going to correct me. So your guys' support helps immensely here on the show each and every week. I do appreciate it. Our members, you guys, we're going to get back into doing stuff. I just finding to rearrange my times and getting things reorganized here. And we're going to get back to doing live streams for our members, which will be a members only kind of thing. And Jerry will be back soon. Ben says, yes, it was an April Fool's joke. Okay. Just before we go, while we're on the topic of nozzles, the ruby tip nozzle. Some of you may have them. Some of you may have tried them. I personally don't think they're a great nozzle. I think they're garbage. So for the money that they want for them, I just don't think it's worth it, because they do wear out. That little ruby tip is only held in there by a very, very thin piece of brass, and if you have a tendency to mash your nozzle into your bed, that ruby tip's going to come off, and I've seen it come off when I was over at Spool 3D. So it is a bit of a problem, so I would definitely go and just stick with the standard nozzles that you get from, whether that be hardened steel or a stainless steel or a brass nozzle. It is a good, just stay away from the ruby nozzles. Sorry, I'm just not a big fan of them. DeWitt 3D says Bondtech CHT nozzles are great, worth the investment. I haven't looked at the CHT nozzles, but I'll go over to Tim's and I will steal one for a show and then bring it back. And while I'm over there, I'll probably record something with them. Alterations, you bring anything new and fun to Maker Faire? Am I going to bring anything new to Maker Faire? I'm going to be at Maker Faire. I'm going to be bringing a bunch of sample filaments to give away. So if you guys are coming to Maker Faire here in Calgary, I am going to be there. It is May 14th and 15th, I believe, at the fairgrounds downtown at the BMO Center here in Calgary. So if you are in and around the Calgary area and you want to come to something fun, come and see me at Maker Faire. Tim from 3D or DeWitt 3D Canada is also going to be there. So we're going to, hopefully they put us either across from each other and we can make faces at each other, or they put us beside each other. It'll be a lot of fun. So make sure that you come and say hi to us and check us out. I may have some t-shirts to give away as well. And we're going to be talking about new filaments. We're going to, while we're there, we're going to, I don't know if I'm going to bring a 3D printer or not. I might. I may have to borrow Peter's Voron, which I helped him build. So bring that one there and show you guys exactly what a Voron is. So yeah, join me over at the Maker Faire on May 14th and 15th here in Calgary. Come over, say hi, grab some stickers, grab some free filament, and we'll talk about 3D printing and look at some of the stuff that we've printed. So I hope that we will see you guys all there. Wow, an hour is already gone. I can't believe it. I can't believe an hour is already gone. It's been so fast. Brian is getting better. Just to give you guys kind of a quick update, because I know I've had a couple questions about it recently. Brian is on the mend. Things are calming down in his life. So we may see him come back here May, June, July. We don't know. But he will at some point appear on the show again. In the meantime, keep him in your thoughts, and we hope to see him back on the first layer. And I'm just trying to get time to do more editing. I've got a lot of stuff in the pipe that I have to edit up to put up for regular episodes. So we are going to see you guys then. Great content as usual, Gary Graham says. Keep safe and carry on printing. I agree. I'll need to take out a montage to be able to afford the gas to go to Calgary, or a mortgage, I'm sorry, to Maker Faire. Yeah, I have to take out a mortgage too to do that. Thank you everybody for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you guys again next Sunday right here on Ask for Help, and we are going to answer your questions again next week as well. Maybe we'll have some new things to show you off the printer. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to do? So until I see you guys next time, please remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Bye for now. Have yourselves a great Sunday.